Honor, Mr. Depp was taking photos and taking pictures outside the courthouse yesterday. Well, that's not the courthouse. Do you see the stone right behind it? Do you see the stone right behind it? I don't know if that's the courthouse or not. Do you see the stonework? Elaine, my concern, Your Honor, I believe there's a bias being shown here. He's looking at him, he's waving and smiling at him. It was clearly at him. We are going to talk about... We're not just going to talk about Elaine Brederhoff. We're just going to talk about the Depp v. Heard stuff for a little bit. I think it's very extensive. It's very long. These are the transcripts. Huge shout out to deppdive.net. I went on their website to get everything Depp Heard case related. And then also shout out to Nick Wallace as well, who uploaded all the UK transcripts. So do you guys remember during trial, whenever the lawyers would go off to the side, talk to Judge Penny, and we couldn't hear shit? You know, us nosy ass were like, anyone here know how to lip read? Does anyone know what they're saying? Nope, we don't know. So these are all the sidebars here. And the sidebars were unavailable to us at the time, but now they're all in the transcript. So this is when they're all coming in, day 2 of trial. Again, day 1 was jury selection. Day 2 is opening statement. So I do want to read the parts that we didn't really have access to. Okay, so this is Ben Chu right here. Ms. Heard, the evidence would show that Ms. Heard showed up with a mark on her face and mysteriously appeared 6 days after she saw Mr. Depp, and 6 days before she publicly filed a request for DV restraining order alleging abuse. Hey, John, thank you so much for the 5. I'm trying. Elaine was sympathetic. AH was cheated farewell tour. Elaine was very much not. I felt bad for Elaine, but I don't know. Elaine, she took on Amber Heard as a client. I mean, come on now. I don't know. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, like, you took on Amber Heard as a client. Like, maybe initially when she took on Amber Heard as a client, she believed Amber Heard, but at some point she must have realized that her client was just guilty as fuck, man. Oh, Lord. Yeah, the theater makeup. All right. This is Ben Chu. The evidence would show that her publicists and the paparazzi were there to the courthouse to document the event, to make sure that Johnny Depp's name was forever associated with the image of an innocent, battered woman. It was a jolt. It was a shocking story splashed across the front pages across the country. No one had ever, in 5 decades, accused Johnny Depp of being violent with a woman. No one had ever accused Mr. Depp of being violent with a woman. He had other long-term relationships. He had children. Elaine, objection, Your Honor? The court, excuse me? Elaine, may we approach? Now we're in the sidebar. Elaine, one of the motions in the limine was that he couldn't say that he was or was not abused by somebody else without having the proper foundation to. Judge Penny, we didn't have that. I mean, Mr. Chu. Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor, but that was specifically ruled on. It was denied. Come on, you know it was denied. The court, we have agreed order, right? Mr. Chu, yes, it was denied. I'm the officer of the court. That was clearly denied. She knows that. Elaine, it's the subject to the foundation, Your Honor. He has no witnesses. The court, but it's the opening statement. We didn't say anything that they couldn't say in the opening statements. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. So Ben Chu goes on with the rest of his opening statement, and now we have another sidebar. What do we got here? So in December 2018, you heard Ms. Vasquez say that he wanted to clear his name. He can't be a wife beater, etc. But an op-ed appeared in the Sun Times in the London. They called him a wife beater. It was written by Dan Wooten, the CEO, the chief editor of the Sun at the time, and he was writing about Johnny Depp is being a cast in Fantastic Beasts 3. And so the article is, why is J.K. Rowling? Mr. Chu, Your Honor, may we approach the court? Yes. Now we're in the sidebar. We're going into the UK issues here. Ms. Brederhoff, just the judgment. The court, no, we're not going into anything in the UK. Elaine, Your Honor. The court, in those statements, I made it perfectly clear in the motion in limine, we're not going to, especially in the opening statements, we're not going to talk about the UK judgment in the opening statement. Later on, you get into it. Oh, she gets cut off. Elaine, I wasn't talking about the judgment. I was talking about the lawsuit. That's different. Judge Penny, no, when we get to the lawsuit, we talk about the UK judgment. Where are you going with it then if you're not going to do it? Elaine, because he's already been out. because he's already been called that. Judge Penny. No, that's a judgment by the judgment. I mean, you're going right. Elaine cuts her off again. No, it's not the judgment. It's the lawsuit. They never moved. Judge. The lawsuit is the judgment, period. Ms. Bretterhoff, you're not going into it, period. Elaine. Your Honor, I think they also opened the door. You Honor. The court. They did not. It's opening statement. He did not open the door. Elaine. Your Honor, it's very clear in the motion in limine that they only asked for the judgment, not the lawsuit. Judge Penny. The lawsuit is the judgment. It's the same thing, Ms. Bretterhoff. I hope I didn't have to say that to you. Elaine. I apologize, Your Honor, but I respectfully disagree. Judge Penny. No, it's the opposite thing. You just have to move on, okay? Mr. Chu. Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, I thought it was Ben Chu that was reading it earlier. It was I think it was fucking Bretterhoff. My bad. So I think we continue on with that. Sorry, Elaine. Okay, so now we are talking to Christy Dombrowski. Christy Dombrowski is the older sister of Johnny Depp, and she's on the stand right now, and she's being direct examined. Judge Penny being savage as fuck. Yeah, dude, Judge Penny. And this is only on, what day? We're on day 2. Well, day 1 was jury selection. So we're on let's just say day 1. We're on day 1 right now, okay? It seems like Judge Penny is already kind of maybe fed up with Elaine, you know? They were dealing with each other, all the pre-trial stuff. So, oh man, we're just, technically we're just getting started, but we really haven't because there's been years of pre-trial stuff from before. So now we are with Christy Dombrowski, and she is testifying right now. Ben Chu's asking the questions. Would you please tell the jurors what your relationship with Johnny was like when you were growing up? Answer. Johnny and I were very close with having an older brother, older sister. We were the 2 younger ones. So we're really close, and we basically played with each other all the time. We played together. We played Hot Wheels. We, played Batman and Robin, where we each had a role in that. And he's probably going to be embarrassed if I say any of this, but, we practiced, karate kicks with each other. We were just friends. We were like best friends. Question. What was Johnny like as a young boy? Mr. Roddenborn. Objection, Your Honor, 404. The court. If you want to approach, sidebar. Mr. Roddenborn. It's a lack of character evidence. Ben Chu. Your Honor, it's just background. Mr. Roddenborn. Your Honor, he's going to get up and say he was gentle and he wasn't violent and all this stuff. You can't just come in under 404. It's used to prove action and conformity therewith. What is 404 again? 404 court. 404, character evidence and other crimes, wrongs, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Prohibited uses. Evidence of a person's character or character trait is not admissible to prove that on a particular occasion when the person acted out in accordance with the character of the trait. Exceptions for a defendant or victim in a criminal case. So Roddenborn is like, nope, it's under 404. Judge Penny. Right now, all I hear was just information about his background. I mean, assume we're not going to get into that he was gentle. Mr. Chu. No, it's just really what we're getting into. Oh, I mean, it's relevant for both their background as far as abuse, which is where we're going. Mr. Roddenborn. Okay, well, when he started asking questions, eliciting testimony about how he's transforming, he never heard a fly, Judge Penny. He said that that's not where he's going. So we have notice for that. Okay, thank you. And so Ben Chu continues to object as Mr. Chu is asking his questions. Objections. They're asking about Johnny's background, growing up, Question. To what extent did you have an occasion to observe Johnny and Miss Hurt together earlier in their relationship? Answer. I would see them. There were times where she would come and, visit our mom. I would see her then. I would see the 2 of them then. I didn't really spend a tremendous amount of time with them. Question. Have you formed any impression of Miss Hurt at the time that was based on your observations? Answer. I did. I didn't know her very well. And I would spend time, like I said, she would come to my mom's house. I sat with her and my mom. Mr. Roddenborn. Object on 404, Your Honor. What was the question of Amber? Mr. Chu. She's describing what she was observed, Your Honor. Mr. Roddenborn. Doesn't matter. It's still 404. Mr. Chu. I don't think that's right, Your Honor. I think she's describing what she observed. The court. All right. Do you want to approach for a moment? Sidebar. So you can describe what they observe, but if she's getting into, she was unfriendly, she was standoffish, these characterizations can't come in. If she was just observing, I saw her and him holding hands. I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying. Just her observations. She can't characterize them because that is character evidence. So 404. Mr. Roddenborn, it's her impression of Ms. Heard. That's not the judge. So I think you need to reform the question. So it's just observations. Just observations, okay? Mr. Chu. Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Now we are in the op-ed territory. Moving ahead 2 years in time, did you see Ms. Heard's Washington Post op-ed when it was published in December 18, 2018? Answer, yes. What did you think of Ms. Heard's op-ed was about? Mr. Roddenborn, relevance. Mr. Chu, it's entirely relevant. They're trying to argue somehow that people didn't understand what the op-ed meant. We heard an opening where there was the court. I want you to approach. Mr. Chu, yes, ma'am. The court. What is her opinion of the op-ed? How is that relevant? Mr. Chu, what was not her opinion, but what she did think what it was about. He's arguing that because it didn't, the court. But that's still her opinion of what she thought about it. Mr. Chu, right. But I mean, they were trying to argue that people didn't understand that this was about Johnny Depp. I mean, she's a human being. The court, I understand, but I'll send an objection, okay? Mr. Chu, thanks. The court, So now we're in the text messages between Johnny Depp and Christy Dombrowski. Okay. Question. Are these a text from you to your brother, Johnny Depp? Yes. And those texts were sent about February 5th, 2014? Yes. Okay. Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, I'd like to move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 214. So at this point, I think Christy Dombrowski is being cross-examined by Roddenborn, it seems. The court, any objection to 214? The witness, can I just say something? The court, no, just wait, ma'am. Mr. Chu, object, Your Honor. May we approach? The court, yes, sir. Sidebar, the court. It seems to be more than 4 texts on here, though. Mr. Chu, yeah, I was going to say that was one of the things I was going to say. Mr. Roddenborn, I just told Heather to start with what you see. Mr. Chu, well, that's one problem. And then one problem is that there's a lot of other messages on that. The court, right? I mean, it has to just be redacted. Mr. Chu, and there's a lot of other personal identifiers. The court, with the phone numbers. Mr. Roddenborn, I mean, what do we do about it? The court, we can redact the phone numbers. We've already agreed that she sent these text messages. They're messages between her and Mr. Depp. So we don't want to have the phone numbers out. Mr. Roddenborn, why don't we have the text and date and we don't even need this in the from column for today. Maybe we'll figure out something for tomorrow. The court, well, we just need I need a redacted copy from you and a hard copy before you can post to the jury. Like, you can't publish to the jury today if I don't have the redacted copy. Mr. Roddenborn, can we display if she's able to get the column with the text and the court? If she can just with the column, I think she's trying to do it with just the Mr. Roddenborn. Yeah, you can see it. The court. Well, she just has to explain who's talking to who because you don't see that without the numbers column. Mr. Roddenborn. Right. I'll ask the witness that. The court. But she can move it over. Would you have an objection to that? She's just starting to move it over. She's included just those for not being the identifiers. Mr. Roddenborn. Yes, I'll take out the identifiers. Sorry about that. The court. That's fine. And then this can be an exhibit tomorrow. We're going to have these. I understand that. So if she can just get to one column and then there's the next column. Is that the one you want? Mr. Roddenborn. Yes, just those two. The court. So all the identifiers would be gone. It would just be these 2 text messages. Mr. Chu, that would solve the problem. I still think it's unfairly prejudicial. The court. I understand that, but I overrule that. But if you can just observe just a part of it, just show that to the jury, you owe me that redaction tomorrow, okay? Mr. Roddenborn. Okay. The court, if you can just take it to me. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court. Now we have another sidebar. This is, again, I think cross-examination with, is it with Christy still? Would it refresh your recollection perhaps to see other text messages that you sent on or around this time to determine whether or not you're worried about Mr. Depp? Answer. If there's other context, I guess, I don't know. Question. Why don't we do this? Mr. Roddenborn. Heather, can you please pull up Exhibit 210? Your Honor, may I approach? The court. All right. Mr. Roddenborn, I just want to preview now. The court. All right. What do we have here? Mr. Roddenborn. She says that she doesn't know whether she was worried about him. So I'm going to ask her some of these texts. But obviously, we're just going to short circuit some objections here. The court. So are these texts between Amber, Mr. Chu? They're Amber's statements. This is the most, Mr. Roddenborn. Well, I'm going to ask her about her statements. Mr. Chu. Dubious kind of hearsay. The court. My question first is, who are these texts from? Mr. Chu, I'm sorry, Amber. Mr. Ronborn, between Amber and Christy. The court, Amber and this witness, just making sure, get your nomenclature together. Get your nomenclature together, Ronborn. You guys have been living there a lot longer. I want to make sure. Mr. Chu, they're clearly hearsay. The court, okay, I see. What is your objection going to be? So what is your bias? Ms. Brederhoff, oh, here comes Elaine. So I'm going to ask Ms. Dombrowski about the text. Obviously, they're not hearsay. The court, are you offering them into evidence or are you just Ronborn? Yes, I'm offering them into evidence. I mean, she says, I don't love any of it. The court, I mean, how do you get them in without Mr. Chu? You can't. It's a dialogue with the same thing that they've talked about. Ronborn, well, they're about Ms. Dombrowski. I'm going to ask her about them. The court, I understand you're going to ask her about these statements. I understand that these are her statements. How are you going to get them to context if you're not getting into Mr. Ronborn? Well, I don't know. And that's why I want to preview, because I have to be able to ask her about her contemporaneous writing that she made. Particularly, there are impeachment or 787. She just said she doesn't know. She was worried about what she texted on page 2. She said, I don't love any of this behavior. She tells Amber, worry about everything. Mr. Chu, this is all, Your Honor. I mean, will you let me talk? The court, go ahead. Everybody, it's late. I know, sunshine. Mr. Chu, he's the bad Ben, Your Honor. We all know about that. He's the bad Ben, Your Honor. We all. Is he talking about Ben Roddenborn? Mr. Roddenborn, they are not hearsay. So I'm going to ask her about that. The court, I think you can ask her about that. Did you recall texting with Miss Heard where you said that you were worried about him? I think that's fine. And if she doesn't remember, you can show her the text yourself. But if she doesn't have a memory, I don't see how you can get these texts into evidence. Roddenborn, well, I'm going to try it one more time. The court, so far, haven't done it, okay? Mr. Roddenborn, but I want to preview this. The court, that's all right. That's fine. Roddenborn, these when she says, no one ever told me that he was on a recent bender. That's impeachment. That's not going to be hearsay. I mean, I can impeach the witness and bring in other evidence that contradicts the witness' testimony. So when she's up there telling the jury, I don't know why I sent these texts, then that's what she's telling us. I mean, Amber had just told her he's on a bender. And she says, I have no idea. No one ever told me this. I have no idea. So if the texts like this come in, they're coming in for impeachment, not for hearsay. The court, all right. So are you saying, but if she says, yes, I recall these texts, and yes, now I do remember she told me he was on a bender, that's why I sent them or something. Are you going to say these texts still come in even though she's admitted to it? Roddenborn, yeah. Court, but she might not. Roddenborn, yeah, maybe not. Maybe we can take it back. The court, yeah, if she doesn't admit to it, then I think you can do intrinsic evidence. But even after showing them to her, if she says no, I think you have a basis for putting them to evidence, not for hearsay. They'll be limiting the instructions later that it's not here for the truth of the matter. I'm not sure exactly what all these say, but Roddenborn, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a bender. She's talking about a bender. There are statements in that would be an issue. Roddenborn, I don't know. And that's going to Mr. Chu. Well, virtually everything coming in from Ms. Heard is out. The court. Well, I mean, we have to parse it. It wouldn't be able to come in today, but you can definitely talk to her about it, and then we can figure it on our own what actually would be able to come in. You can talk to her about it and show it to her. That's fine. You just won't be able to show it to the jury, give to the evidence today. Does that make sense? Roddenborn, thank you. Yes, I just wanted to, Mr. Chu. As to reserving all of the objections on this, Your Honor. The court, all your objections. Mr. Chu, because there's a widely hearsay and the least reliable. God damn it, when they interrupt each other like this, it makes it really hard to read. The court, all your objections. Mr. Chu, because it's a widely hearsay and the least reliable. The court, it would have to be a redacted for sure, but at least today she might say, yes, now I recall, that would be a double negativity. Okay, Mr. Roddenborn, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chu, thank you. The court, no, that's fine. All right, we're back to asking questions. Sidebar with Elaine Brederhoff. Miss Brederhoff, may we approach? The court, let me finish this issue first. I appreciate it. Going back to the text. So on 163, are you trying to admit that into evidence? That was the last one. Mr. Roddenborn, yes, Your Honor. The court, all right, there's an objection to that. Mr. Chu, yes. The court, okay, go ahead. Mr. Chu, We stand on the objection as hearsay. The court. All right. Yes, sir. Anything further to say on 63? Mr. Roddenborn. Well, I think, yeah, two things at a minimum. Ms. Dombrowski's text should be allowed to come in because those are hearsay, even if we have to redact out all of Ms. Hurd's text, which is that's what Your Honor is ruling is we can. But the problem is, and the reason it's not hearsay, is that it's impeachment under da-da-da-da. The court. I understand your impeachment issue, and I understand that, and that will go back to 210. I think there's an issue with impeachment there, but here I don't see an impeachment basis to have an extrinsic evidence in. You got the testimony in, but I don't see the basis to have the extrinsic evidence in. So again, they're still arguing about the text messages between Christy Dombrowski and Amber Heard. Hi, Misha. She's not bad trained. Right aboard. I would still ask that the texts come in. They're not impeachment. They're not hearsay. They're probative to this case. She's expressing concern, and even the jury can see the context. They can't see the court. Since they haven't had the context, I'm not going to allow them in. So I'm going to sustain the objection to 163. And so far as 210, the only impeachment basis was when she testified that she didn't recall anything about the bender or him being on a bender. I think for impeachment purposes, that's just the only part that comes in so far. As Ms. Hurd's text is the JD's on a bender, I don't even know the last part of it on it. That's it. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, the court. Everything else I would have been to redacted. Chu, Your Honor, I don't think that comes in to impeach a third-party witness. It's all hearsay. Roddenborn. Sure it does. It's 787. The court. I'm going to allow that. Just that one part. Mr. Chu. Just that part? Just that part? Everything else gets redacted as far as text? Ms. Dombrowski can come in, except you have to get rid of her identifying information as far as her phone number. Okay? Roddenborn. And just to be clear, so we don't get anything wrong, Mr. Chu. Your Honor, for the record, we also object on speculation. The court. Okay, I understand. Mr. Chu calls for speculation and the court. All right. That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Roddenborn. You want it redacted after the word bender, not the last words of the court. That's exactly right. The last two words, not the sentence above it, any of the sentence below it, or any of the other text. Mr. Dombrowski's text came in, and you've got to take her phone number out for me. Mr. Roddenborn. Okay. The court. So if you can just owe me that. I'll allow the redacted one to evidence. You can give that to me tomorrow. Okay. Mr. Roddenborn. Thank you, Judge. The judge. You also owe me 214 tomorrow, correct? Roddenborn. Yes, Your Honor. One, and that can we, if we redact, can we show the last two columns if we redact the personal identifier? Can we show the other columns that correspond to the text? As long as the personal identifier is what the objection was. So if you can do it with just the 4. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. The court. Get rid of the others. That's all I have. Ma'am, you had something? Ms. Berderhoff. May we approach? Okay. Ms. Berderhoff. Your Honor, the jury was shuffling out the second to the end of the front. That juror went out like this, bye, to Mr. Depp, and he waved back to him. Ms. Vasquez. That was not to him. Ms. Berderhoff. It was to Johnny. Ms. Vasquez. It was not. The court. Okay. Ms. Vasquez. It was generally in our direction, to the courtroom. The court. Well, I can give it an instruction tomorrow first thing when the jury comes in to make sure they understand that they have no contact or no information to anyone. Ms. Vasquez. He was standing out of respect as Your Honor told us, and he looked generally in our direction. The court. I didn't see it, so I don't know, but I will pay attention to it. But I will give them instruction tomorrow just to make sure they don't do that again. And I'll pay attention to it. If it's something that we think is a problem as the days goes on, we'll have alternatives for a reason, and we can work from that. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Berderhoff. And Mr. Depp waved back to him, and he went by back. The court. If you would instruct your client, we could do that. Mr. Chu. Okay, thank you, Your Honor. And then this is where they dismiss for the first day. Okay, so Elaine was like, make sure, Your Honor, I want you to reprimand that juror, maybe replace the juror. She's probably thinking of that. And also tell Johnny Depp, don't be waving back at the juror, okay? Don't be waving back. Berto sounds like a stoner. She's got like a little bit of like dry air to her throat, like she's got sand in her throat or something. I was just trying to reflect that. There's so many different, usually when I'm doing like the depositions is really easy because it's like 2 people in a conversation. This one is like 1 million people in a conversation. So it's hard to like identify who's who. That right there is day 1. But I think, did I miss anything on here? So sidebar and Day 3, this is when they're all coming in, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The court. All right, good morning. Do we have any preliminary matters before the jury? Bredehoff. We do, Your Honor. May we approach? The court. Sure. Your Honor, Mr. Depp was taking photos and taking pictures outside the courthouse yesterday. Well, that's not the courthouse. Do you see the stone right behind it? Do you see the stone right behind it? I don't know if that's the courthouse or not. Do you see the stonework? I wish we could hear this. That's not a door at this courthouse. He comes to the judge's lot, and that's not where he comes out. I'm not sure where that is. This might be his hotel, possibly. Mr. Chu. Actually, it looks more like his hotel. That's not the courthouse. He comes out the judge's lot. We have a pool of camera there when he leaves. The other thing I wanted to bring up with respect to the juror yesterday, I'd rather the court not re-instruct the juror. Are you sure? Yes, the court already instructed the juror not to do that. I would rather see the court watch that juror to see if anything like that happens again. Sure. And if there's some bias, that we ask for alternatives. Okay, all right, that's fine. I was going to read about, not the same way, but we just have no contact, but I won't do it. I like how Elaine's like, look at the stonework. Look at the stonework, Judge. Johnny Depp is taking pictures outside the courthouse. And then Judge is like, no, that's like, it looks like his hotel. She quickly just moves on to the next subject. So that's good. We're not going back and forth on that. Good job, Elaine. Good job. The stonework, but look at the stonework. Okay, now Elaine's being annoying again. Okay, all right, that's fine. I was going to read about, not the same way, but just have no contact, but I won't do it. Just keep an eye on it. I will keep an eye on it. You did tell Mr. Depp, though, not to wave back if anybody at the jury waves at him or smiles at him or anything. Mr. Chu, yeah, I will recite that right now. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Roddenborn, do you have the redactions for me? We have one of the two, and the other one we have one tweak to it, and we're going to do that electronically during my cross-examination. Which one do you have for me? Exhibit 214. 214 that we provided. So the redactions reserving further objections. The redactions are okay. Mr. Chu. Yes, Your Honor. The court. Okay, so 214 will be in evidence then. Do you want to get the witness back on the witness stand before we get the jury here? Mr. Chu. Yes, Your Honor. The court. Ms. Dombrowski. All right, let's put her up before the jury is out, and that will be helpful. Mr. Roddenborn, you're going to get me afterwards. Yes, Your Honor. No, 210. 210. We'll put it up on the screen before without the presence of the jury. The judge will see it in the same time you do. Okay. I just don't have it with me. All right. Are we all ready for the jury? Are we ready for the jury? All right. Now the jury is going to come on in. Let's go to sidebar. Elaine is the Punisher. Oh, is a Punisher? All right. Who do we start with today? Let's do question. Did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp could act like a child if he didn't get immediate satisfaction? I never had reason to believe that. So this is now Roddenborn cross-examination with Chrissy Dombrowski. Did you ever believe to a reason to believe that someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp had fundamental issues with anger? Mr. Chu, Your Honor, may we approach? He's reading from a document, a hearsay document. So the court, I don't know what he's reading from. He's just asking questions at this point. I assume if he's trying to get something in, that's a different issue. Mr. Chu, okay. The court, let's see where, okay. That's it for the sidebar. Easy peasy. Got into the sidebar over here. Something about the pain pills. Okay, pain pills. Just the pain pills? It was the pain pills. Nothing else. I didn't have concerns. So when you say he needs help, that's what you're referring to, that you believe that your brother needed help with pills? Mr. Chu, objection, Your Honor. This has been asked and answered several times. Mr. Roddenborn, may we approach, Your Honor? Mr. Roddenborn, on the sidebar. It's not hearsay. The court, he said ask and answer, which is all has been. She's not giving you the answer you want. I understand that. He objected, asked, and answered. Mr. Roddenborn, it's also the court. It's a prior inconsistent statement. I understand that. That's why I'm letting her testify to it, but it doesn't come into evidence. Makes sense? Mr. Roddenborn, makes sense. Mr. Chu, he has a tendency to just beat the horse. Bet you always be throwing them damn jabs, man. The court, you have objected to ask and answer, then I will either sustain or overrule. Mr. Chu, okay, thank you for your honor. Mr. Roddenborn, thank you. Heather, can you blah, 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 blah? Okay, next sidebar. What do we got here? Next sidebar we're talking about Dr. Kipper, but I think we're still with Christy Dombrowski, and we're still with Roddenborn. Okay. Roddenborn. I'm asking her what she meant with one of her statements. It's not different from the statement I just asked her about. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, it's hearsay. The court, I'm not sure what the prior inconsistent statement would be for this. Mr. Roddenborn, well, that she's testified that all of Amber's concerns were overblown. Ben Chu, Your Honor, may we approach? Ben Chu in the sidebar, Your Honor, this is not a prior inconsistent statement. Mr. Roddenborn, she testified that all of Amber's concerns were overblown, and she is telling her, I think you need to tell him that you're scared. This is the last question I'm going to ask her, and then I would move on from the document. Ben Chu, just because it's the last question doesn't make it appropriate. The court, I'm going to sustain the objection. Okay. Question. Ms. Dombrowski, concerning your records, your concerns regarding your brother's drug use, you were concerned for your brother and your brother only. I was concerned for my brother, yes. And your brother, is that right? And only your brother, is that right? My focus was my brother. Now you, in your capacity as his personal manager, you're often apprised of your brother's performance on movie sets, right? Mr. Chu, objection, hearsay. So I think that's about it. Next sidebar. Next sidebar we have with Elaine Bretterhoff and Judge Penny. Okay, so I think this is just interactions. Oh, I think this is with Isaac. Yes. Question. Did you have any interactions with the staff at the ECB about Eastern Clement Building about Ms. Heard's allegations against Mr. Depp? Bretterhoff. Objection, Your Honor. May we approach the court? Okay. All right, interactions with staff. Ms. Bretterhoff. So what she's going to elicit now, and I thought it was better to preview it and let Your Honor know. Okay. What she's going to say is that he spoke with the other members of the ECB staff and that they showed him this fake punch video that was never produced, and even with the lawyers. So I'm going to object to hearsay grounds with the communications with him, and I'm going to object to this testimony of the actual video and what he says he saw on the video. Depp's lawyer, I believe there is a ruling on this. The court, there was, and your objection's been noted to that. He can't testify to hearsay, what they might have communicated to him. Depp's lawyer, I'm not going to ask that question. The court, so it's just a video. We could move on. Your objection has been noted. All right, good job, Elaine. Next sidebar. Question. Okay, let's go to line 57. Then it'll be section 57, exhibit that I have in front of me. This is a text message from you and Mr. Depp. Do you see that? Well, there's over 80 million texts on there. Go to the number 57. Depp's lawyer. Objection, Your Honor. The court. I'm sorry. Depp's lawyer. May I approach? The court. Okay, sure. Depp's lawyer. So I think this is Elaine asking questions, cross-examination with Isaac. She's referring to the text messages that occurred in prior, after the marriages by a number of months. So I'm not sure what the relevance could possibly be in those particular text messages. Elaine, he's referring to her in a very, very base way, saying the cunt rotting corpse. How many times did Elaine say cunt in the court transcripts? I want to know. Oh, wait, maybe I should have gone back a little bit in context. Something about Depp calling Amber a cunt. Was it to her face? No. Was it in her text messages? Maybe. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Elaine, cunt rotting corpse. The court. She's just talking about the timeline of it, saying it's 2 years later. Elaine, still, I asked if he ever called Mr. Depp referring to her as a cunt, and he said, you would have to show me. The court. He said yes. Elaine, right. And then I said, did he do it more than once? He said, you would have to show me. The court. Yeah. Depp's lawyer. Your Honor, far too much to share. It's a timing. Bretterhoff. It is timely. The court. I'm going to allow it. So I guess they talk about the text messages with Johnny referring to Amber Heard as the C word. So this is Christy Dombrowski, email with Dr. Kipper. Sorry, we're just going back a little bit. Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, permission to publish the second paragraph of da-da-da-da. The court, you're asking to enter into evidence? Mr. Roddenborn, yes, we would like to enter into evidence with those redactions. Ben Chu, Your Honor, these two layers hearsay. Can we approach Ben Chu and sidebar? This is double hearsay issue. The court. Okay, go ahead. Ben Chu. This is Dr. Kipper basically using Amber in a very dubious source. So there's 2 layers of hearsay here. The court. Right. Mr. Chu. No exception. The court. What's the basis? Roddenborn. Not hearsay. She's testifying. She's testifying that she never heard from anyone. I mean, her whole testimony, Your Honor, has been Amber exaggerates and no one else ever told me that he had any issues. I don't want to get in the first paragraph in. That is hearsay. I agree. But the second paragraph, when he says all these things about Johnny, where she says, testifying to the jury, she's making it sound like Amber is the only one. Mr. Chu. Your Honor, it's still double hearsay. This is the beginning of a Dr. Kipper's treatment where he has a reason to think that Amber might have any credibility. The court. Don't talk over. Okay, go ahead. Ben Chu getting in trouble. Mr. Roddenborn. On the stand. She's putting her head in the sand. She's saying Amber's was the one who told me about Johnny. The court. Then you can ask her. So did Dr. Kipper tell you about this? You can ask that, but I'm not going to allow this piece of evidence in, okay? Mr. Chu. Thanks, Your Honor. This is after the 15-minute break. All right, are we ready for the jury then? Ms. Brederhoff. Your Honor, may we approach before we get to the jury? The court. Okay, sure. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brederhoff. I just want to put on record, Your Honor, that the same juror, when he came out this morning, smiled and kind of nodded at Mr. Depp again. Judge Penny. I'll keep, but there's no waving back. Elaine. I'm sorry. The court. There's no waving back, so... Depp's attorney. I do think it was a general good morning to the court. The court. I don't know if that's how he is. I mean, I can say at the end of the day, if you like, what I was going to say this morning. Elaine. My concern, Your Honor, I believe there's a bias being shown here. He's looking at him, he's waving and smiling at him. It was clearly at him. The court. I'll take a look when he comes in right now, and for the rest of the day, I'll keep an eye on him. And we can always discuss it at any time. Elaine. I just want to make sure that it was on the record. All right. I wonder how often they're going to go back and forth about this jury. I wish we don't have any footage of the jury, of course, because they didn't show the jury during the trial. But I really wish we could see it to see if, like, you know, if he really looked like he was saying hi or waving to Johnny Depp, or if Elaine is just exaggerating. Okay, now back to the end of the day. Day 4. What do we have in the morning? Do we have anything going on in the morning? Okay, so in the morning, bailiff says, all rise. Judge Penny, good morning. Ben Chu, good morning, Your Honor. Judge Penny. All right, the first thing I want to say is that I got a call from my mother last night, and my mother-in-law saying, why did you have your phone on the bench? I just want to be clear with everything. That was not my phone. That was a call through the computer system because I guess we have an open line to remote witnesses, so it came through the computer system. Jamie says it never happened before, came through the computer system, and she hung up on it. So just for the record, that was not my phone. I don't need that kind of grief from my mother. All right? Okay. All right. So I think before the jury comes out, we do have one issue with exhibits too. I still remember a phone ringing on Judge Penny's bench. Do you guys? I don't remember. I think when I was initially playing the Depp v. Heard Depp v. Heard trial. Oh my God. Judge Penny, plaintiff's exhibit 548. Okay, so you have it offered to come to evidence. Elaine, yeah. The court, and I know there was an objection. There was a lot of hearsay on it, and so there's a redacted copy for me. Is that something you just haven't checked through? Mr. Chu, we haven't seen it, Your Honor. We looked through it during break. The court, that's fine, Mr. Chu. I think it was her witness, but that's fine. Mr. Chu, understood. Elaine, it was the plaintiff's exhibit, just so we're clear. The court, I know it was their exhibit, but you're offering it. So if you're offering it, you'll have to redact it to basically, I think it says 2. Elaine, I just want to make sure that, in fact, I'm going to bring it up right away this morning. I wasn't sure of the court's ruling, so I don't know what the court, well, I just want to make sure I know that. Depp's lawyer, I think we need to work out the details on that, Your Honor. The court, okay, if you can just work out the details, so you'll meet one exhibit, so you'll have to get to some point today, right? Or even, I guess, tomorrow when I see you guys, that's fine. Elaine, I think we can do it today. The court, okay, perfect. All right, anything else before the jury? Roddenborn, just one brief matter, Your Honor. May we approach the court? Yes, that's fine. Sidebar. Mr. Roddenborn, I just kind of want to clarify the 48-hour rule that we agreed to with respect to the witnesses. Okay, 4 witnesses. So the 48-hour rules, they sent us an email saying they anticipated Kate James, Gina Duders, Laura Anderson, and Sean Bett. Again, Kate James is Amber Heard's previous assistant, who she fired. Gina Duders is Johnny Depp's assistant's wife, who knew Amber Heard. Laurel Anderson, I think, was she the therapist? I think. Sean Bett is one of Johnny Depp's bodyguard. Oh, yeah. Laura Anderson was the one that did the video deposition. Okay. Yesterday afternoon or yesterday around lunch, they said, given how quickly we're working through the witnesses, we want to maybe add Dr. Kipper and Lloyd. No issue with that since obviously we want to get through the trial. So we've already gone through those depositions, right? So I emailed them and I asked for clarification. I said, do you mean those two in addition? Or were you planning on 2, 4? Were you planning tomorrow? And yesterday at whatever this afternoon, they said, yes, there are in addition. Just this morning, they said, oh, well, we're not going to do Sean Bett until Monday. We're going to replace him with Dr. Kipper. And I just want clarification. I mean, if they're going to say they have more time to prepare for Sean Bett, but it's more complex than that because there's deposition designation, we have to have a notice to fight over the exhibits that are going to come in. Right. Then there's some gamemanship in them telling me yesterday afternoon at 5 p.m. there are no additions. And then today saying, no, by the way, we're going to take out the people in the middle of the day and it's going to be a live witness. So I just want to raise it with your honor. The court, well, I understand your concerns, but trials are very fluid. I think 48 is helpful for everyone, I think. And I think as long as, and I think this will be for your side too. Mr. Chu, we did that, Your Honor. And they have more time to prepare for the court. Well, I understand that, but that's a little bit besides the point. I get the feeling. Mr. Rottenborn, I think the problem was trying to confirm yesterday afternoon, and it's fine for today. Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all clear that, right, we're going to, Vasquez, we're going to do our very best. The court, very best. Okay. Benchu, Your Honor, there's no gamesmanship. Vasquez, it's really hard, really. Judge Penny, okay. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. Back to the open court. Sidebar. We need to work on the details. Another sidebar. Oh, Mr. Nadelhoff. What do we got going on here? So right now, I believe Kate James is testifying. And Kate James is Amber Heard's previous attorney. And she's being... we're already in the cross-examination by Ben Rottenborn. Okay, we're in the cross-examination. Okay, so the question is, what is your current address? Have you spoken to Ms. Vasquez before today? Yes. When? I don't recall. What was the substance of the conversation? I don't recall. Is it in the past month? No. Is it the past year? Yes. Did you talk about the case? No. What did you talk about? I don't recall. If you don't recall, how can you recall that you didn't discuss this case? Have you discussed the case or the UK litigation with Mr. Waldman? Answer. Yes, I discussed the UK case with Mr. Waldman. Question. When did you discuss the UK case with Mr. Waldman? Mr. Nadelhoff. Your Honor, can we stop this, please? The court. Okay, can you pause, please? You can't. There you go. Do you want to approach? Mr. Rottenborn. Sure. The court. I'm not sure. Mr. Rottenborn. This doesn't have all the testimony that your Honor let in. This is biased testimony that way. Hold on. Okay. Mr. Rottenborn. Sorry. Your Honor, let this in this testimony that goes to bias and they didn't put in the video. Ms. Vasquez. We sent it to Planet Depot and the videos were sent to both sides. The court. Did you review the video ahead of time? Oh, did you review the video ahead of time? Mr. Rottenborn. I didn't. I mean, they're the ones responsible for preparing it. I mean, I would have asked this at least be read for the jury by, that's fine. Any objection to that? Ms. Vasquez. No, of course not. Mr. Chu. No objection. The court. But I mean, both sides need to get the Rottenborn. We will do our best to try to confirm. But I mean, Vasquez. We didn't do anything. We sent you the transcripts. We sent both sides of the transcripts. Chu. I'm not blaming. I just want to make sure. Okay. We have no objections to that. Do you want to read that now or do you want to wait? Mr. Rottenborn. Yes. The court. Okay. All right. So if you see any of the issues, just let me know. Hey, Billion, how are you doing today? The muffins are coming. Mr. Rottenborn. Okay. How would you like us to read it? I would just tell the jury that there are additional parts of the deposition that you're going to read into record. Is that okay if you read it in? Rottenborn. Yes. Do you want to, because this came in too, you want me to read it up there? I think your counter. Vasquez. Okay, sure. That's fine. Thank you. The court. Sure. Okay. Mr. Rottenborn. Thank you, Your Honor. Question. So it's your testimony that if there's no physical evidence that you observed, then it couldn't have happened? The DV by Johnny towards Amber. Is that your testimony? No. Well, I'm trying to understand what your testimony is. Maybe you can clarify for me, Ms. James. Again, this is Rottenborn with Kate James, cross-examination. Or like they're playing a video deposition, I think. Is your testimony that you never saw firsthand evidence of Johnny being violent to Amber, that it couldn't happen? That's not what I said. You're trying to put words into my mouth. I don't appreciate that. Rottenborn. Could you pull up the document that is, well, let me see what it ends with here. Depp, da-da-da-da-da. Your Honor, the court, can we pause for a moment? Okay. Mr. Rottenborn. This is a document that we're waiting for the corresponding trial exhibit. So you can just bear with us for 1 minute. We like to move for the mission of it. All right. What's the number on it? That's what we're trying to figure out. Sorry for the delay. Your Honor, it's trial exhibit 844. All right, that's the defendant's 844? Yes, ma'am. Okay, 844. Any objection to 844? Vasquez. Yes, Your Honor. Many objections. The court. All right, you want to approach then if somebody has a copy at 844? All right, sidebar. Mr. Roddenborn. It's just a lot of text that we're looking to admit, so obviously we can redact all of it. Mr. Chu, could you wait until we get up here before you start addressing Roddenborn? Sorry, sure. All right, 844. Okay, I have 844. All right, so are you asking me to move this into evidence? Roddenborn. Well, just the bottom text with everything else redacted. Just this one text? Yes, Your Honor. Who is this with? It's Mr. Depp's writing, Miss James. If you want to do it in a couple of minutes when she testifies that is a text from Mr. Depp to her, we can do that. Is it the second page? Because this one says Miss Dombrowski. He texted. Chris Dombrowski is Mr. Depp. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry. Okay. So you want this one text. She's about to say that she's got this text from Mr. Depp. Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez. May we? Sorry, Your Honor. Do we have a copy of it? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The court. Looks like it's very bottom. Roddenborn. I'm so sorry. I'll try to be better. The court. It's Judy's microphone. If you break it, you've got to deal with Judy. Ben Chu. We'll definitely not touch Judy's microphone. Vasquez. Yeah, I mean, our objection is that it's an improper character evidence, Your Honor. They're trying to get in evidence of Mr. Depp's bad behavior via text messages, and yet we can't bring any evidence of his good behavior. The court. Well, that's kind of how party admissions go, party opponents go. I mean, it's hearsay, but it's party opponent. Mr. Chu. But it still goes to character. Vasquez. Well, I understand. It still goes to character. It's just that saying that it's improper character, Your Honor. And, to the extent that Your Honor will allow us to bring a little bit more background on Mr. Depp, his good behavior, and some of our witnesses, to be able to offer this, Mr. Roddenborn, we'll take that as a Vasquez. It's a proper Roddenborn. But if it's reaching out to one of the witnesses saying, come over and we'll, do that, and that's party admission and relevance and bias and prejudice, all sorts of things for this context. Hi, Heretic. How are you doing today? No, Anna, this is just like the transcripts, but now we're getting the sidebar. So anytime when they were doing this, where is it? This is sidebar right here. So anytime when they were talking to Judge Penny, they're having a sidebar. We never got to listen to any of it. Now that there's a transcript, there's a bunch of transcripts out. The sidebars are out too. So now we can know what they were talking about on the side and what Judge Penny had to deal with when dealing with Elaine mostly. A lot of Elaine headache. So yeah, huge shout out to Depp Dive for releasing all the transcripts. Ms. Vasquez, we just think that it's unfairly prejudicial and improper character evidence. The court, I understand your objections. I'm going to overrule the objections. You owe me a redaction for this, though. Before we can show it to the jury, Roddenborn, would it be okay if for now we did like we did? We'll prepare a redacted exhibit, but we do like we did with Mr. Dombrowski, Miss Dombrowski's text the other day, where we show this part right here. Okay, any objections to that? Vasquez, just making sure, the court, just making sure that they show this to you. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chu. And if you could have somebody else, it's not insult at all, but I mean, if you could have someone else also look at it and give us a chance to look at it, because the last time you and I both missed a personal identifier. The court. Okay, yeah, that's fine. The problem, you'll have to switch it with like we did the security tapes with the other depositions. They can't see at the same time that they see this. You understand? Roddenborn. Okay, there's probably a few more questions that we have to key it up. So we'll have to know what they're looking at. And then we'll stand up and ask. Nadehoff, pause the video. The court. Your objections are noted. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Roddenborn. Thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court. Next sidebar. All right, question. You mentioned a name there I don't think we've heard before. Can you tell the jury quickly who Debbie Lloyd is? Mr. Nadehoff, Your Honor, may we approach Debbie Lloyd? Debbie Lloyd, who's doing the answering? Oh, wait, hold on. There's some back and forth between Mr. Roddenborn, Sam Moniz. This is the wedding. We just got a word that this witness has been posting this week. Oh, dude, this is when Gina Dieters is testifying in the stand, and then Eve Barlow gives the phone to one of the legal assistants. They give it to Roddenborn. Roddenborn stops the questioning and was like, Gina Dieters has been watching parts of the trial. Look at this Instagram post. She posts something on social media. Yeah, she was the one that was dismissed. Mr. Roddenborn, we just got word that this witness has been posting this week on social media facts about this case, her opinion about this case. I just wonder how someone who wasn't around at any point in the relationship considers themselves an expert, such as Ms. Dieters. Here's a long letter that she posted just this week. Our dear friend got a few wins in court this week, and yet some of us continue to belittle him. Samuel Moniz. We've never seen this, Your Honor. This is not a witness under, the court. Well, she is a witness. She's obviously not supposed to be watching the trial, correct? Well, yeah, the court. So I can just ask her questions on that. I will excuse the jury and just ask her a couple questions, okay? Mr. Chu, do you want me to send this to Sammy or the court? No, I'm just going to ask her right now. Mr. Chu, okay. All right, so this is the court, dismisses the jury. Miss Duders, I just had a question for you. Have you been watching the trial this past week? The witness. I've seen clips of it online, yes. You've been watching, so you've been seeing parts of this trial? Yeah. Okay, and the witness testimonies? Yeah, I've seen clips. All right, do we have any follow-up questions? Samuel Moniz. Ms. Duders, have you been watching the court? It doesn't matter. She's been watching clips of the witness testimony. All right, you're excused, ma'am. You're excused. Thank you. Elaine. Your Honor, we would want the court. I will instruct the jury that they will strike the testimony of Ms. Duders, and there's a role of witnesses, Mr. Moniz. Understood, Your Honor. This is the first where I believe that. I have no doubt in mind that this is the first time you've heard of it. Have a good day, ma'am. Thank you. Elaine. Your Honor, we'll tell them to disregard. Elaine! Judge Penny already said this. Why are you repeating yourself? Your Honor, we'll tell them to disregard the court. I got it the first time. Thank you. Your next witness is going to be in deposition, right? Mr. Chu. Yes, Your Honor, it's going to be on video. The court. Okay. Did you want to take the afternoon recess now before we have to bring up the video? What do we do? All right. So they take their afternoon recess. And now Samuel Moniz. Your Honor, may we approach? Sure. First of all, Your Honor, I just want to make sure it's clearly understood. The witness was advised in the rule of one witnesses. We had no knowledge that she was watching anything. The court. I have no doubt in my mind. Mr. Moniz. I also want to clarify that we understand the rule of witnesses and this is a done issue. But I do want to clarify that even her violation order was really, I think, unintentional. She was basically being tagged on things in social media. She was not seeking out clips that were popping up on her feed. Again, we're not arguing. The court. No, she said that she hadn't witnessed anything, but she was very honest, which I do appreciate that she was watching. Mr. Moniz, we also, as far as we can tell, the social media post that was presented to the court from this week, we're unable to identify them on our social media pages. We understand that from talking to her. She said that again, I'm not arguing. The court. Right. Mr. Moniz, but I do want to add a note that we do take exception to the extent that there was any kind of, we understand that these were old posts that were presented as new posts, and it was kind of in an ambush form. So we take exception to that. The court. I didn't mention the post while she was on the stand because I wanted to see if she had seen anything. I don't need the posts or anything unless you want me to look at them. Camille. Well, we do want you to look at them. They're undated on purpose, Your Honor. We believe on purpose. They were handed to the counsel for Ms. Heard by Eve Barlow. Eve Barlow is sitting in the first row. She's a journalist for The Guardian. She's also, I believe, friends with Ms. Heard, or maybe more. The court. Okay. Ms. Vasquez. She has been passing notes to Ms. Heard during the trial. She passed up a cell phone with an undated screenshot photo of Ms. Duders' post that's 2 years old. That's highly inappropriate in our view. The court. I agree. Mr. Chu. We ask that she be removed from the courtroom. The court. The first row is supposed to be for legal team. Ben Chu. She's the girlfriend of Ms. Heard, who appears to be working for The Guardian. It's highly inappropriate. She passed that up misleading post to Ms. Heard. Don't give her a stock. The court. That's fine. Mr. Nadehoff. She's not the court. Nobody of the legal team. We don't got in the audience picking things from different people. Elaine. She's a personal friend. She's traveling with her to and from. The court. Doesn't matter. From now on, the front row, that's only legal team, okay? No family on the front row for either side. I only said legal team in the front row. There's plenty of seats in the courtroom. Ben Chu. Your Honor, we ask that she be excused. The court. As long as she's not in the front row and there's no contact. Ms. Vasquez. Shouldn't be allowed. She was on her laptop open, Your Honor. Mr. Chu. She's passing. The court. She can't have her laptop open anymore because she's not going to be in the front row. Mr. Chu. She's the one that passed it to Mr. Rottenborn without a date. That date was 2 years ago, which we just discovered. The court. I don't care really about the semantics of that. I don't. I thought everybody in the front row was that family just sitting there or a legal team passing notes back and forth. I don't know if she was part of the legal team, so she wouldn't have been on the front row anyways. Both sides, both sides. Ms. Brederhoff, only people that are actually on the legal team. We made that first row, so now you just have communication with the legal team, not with somebody else, not with family, not with friends. Okay? Mr. Rottenborn, just for clarification, we also said that they were part of the legal team. The court. No. Samuel Moniz. So just to be clear, Judge Penny, let's be clear. Just people who are employed in your office as legal people that works with you. Mr. Runenborn, I just want to be sure there's no intent to circumvent your order. The court, well, this is what we're going to do now. Maybe I didn't make myself clear enough. Maybe there's a lot of family in and I can see where there's confusion. But I think that's just a clear-cut rule that only people that work for you are on the front row so you can interact with them to get files or folders, which is the whole intention to begin with, okay? Elaine, so for example, there are a couple that come up and she will come sit in court, the court. They can have no electronics, no nothing. They're just spectators. Elaine, okay, I understand. The court. There's no emailing back and forth, anything like that. Everybody understands me, right? Clear, clear, clear. Everybody's clear, right? Ceremonies. We apologize for the disruption. Eve was twitting from the court. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get situated? Inform everybody on these rows before, and then we'll go from there. Elaine, and then we'll have the redacted exhibits from you. The court. Okay. Elaine, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Everyone's saying thank you to each other. Ms. Bredhoff. When we included the names, we also included Amber's assistant because she's been sitting there. The court. This is everybody, right? Elaine, I just want to be clear to make sure we did it right. The court. Everybody. Mr. Chu. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredhoff. This is, of course, redactions as the 2 redactions, everything but the 2 that we brought in through the blue. The court. Okay. Depp's attorney. Our position is that the plaintiff's exhibit is fairness. We need to put those into context. So we've redacted personally identifying in all but the text between Mr. Baruch and Mr. Depp. The court. Do we have any objections? Elaine. We have any objections because those weren't brought in through Mr. Baruch. It's hearsay. They include text from Mr. Baruch and he didn't testify to them. I still have to read through them. Elaine. Okay. Depp's attorney. There's a lot. Looks like there's over hundreds of entries. The court. So some of these contains hearsay, though, I guess is the issue. We may want to have context. Is it possible to get context of what he said maybe right before? Can we tone it down maybe to Depp's attorney? We can keep working on Your Honor. The court. Maybe the next text before Mr. Depp's response or the text right after, whichever one initiated. Can we do that? Just get the context. So can we work on a little bit on that? Depp's attorney. We're working on it, Your Honor. Keep going. I appreciate it. All right, back to open court. What are we doing with open court? Open court. All the Eve Barlow stuff, did that happen behind in sidebar, right? I think it did. I don't remember us listing in on that. All right, that was sidebar number 4. You think it was the next day? All right, maybe the next day. Yeah, these are already lightweight glasses, but I want even more lightweight glasses. I want to feel like I'm not wearing anything on my face. That's what I want. Elaine has more issues with the jury. Who is this juror? And is Elaine... How come Elaine's the only one that's saying anything about this and no one else is catching it? Man, I feel like Roddenborn and Nadelhoff are just getting Elaine to do all the other silly, frivolous battles or something. I don't know. All right, Elaine, go to the Judge Penny again. Tell Judge Penny that you think you saw the jury say hi to Johnny Depp. Oh, no, not you think, that you definitely saw. Okay. Bredderhoff. I just want to say that on the record that the second one to the right bottom juror, when he walked in this morning, the court again, he said good morning to Mr. Depp. Mr. Chu, we didn't see that. Ms. Bredderhoff, I personally observed it. The court. All right, okay, we're going to probably have to address him at some point. It's the same juror again. Mr. Chu, I didn't see a juror saying hello, Mr. Depp. The court, I'm going to watch him through the day, but yeah, he can't do that. And he's been instructed not to do that. So, Ms. Bredderhoff, I mean, it's just something we may want to just address it when we get to the arguments at the end. The court, do you want me to at the end of today, or I can just bring him out personally and talk to him? Are you saying you want him to recuse him based on what you've seen? Elaine, based on what I've seen, I like to recuse him. I think he's shown particular personal interest in Mr. Depp and made a point of, one day he was friendly with him. The court, right. Ms. Bredderhoff, the others, it's still happening. Mr. Chu, he said good morning before he even got to the front table. I don't think there's something that the court, but he said good morning, Mr. Depp? Elaine, he didn't say good morning, Mr. Depp. He said good morning. And he looked right at Mr. Depp. He was right there, right? All right, let me just keep an eye on him all day today, and then we can address that. This is a long trial, so I've got time, but I've got to focus more onto him. Okay, I will do that. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it, Mr. Chu says. The court. All right, I have exhibits. I don't understand why they just don't not just tell him. What is this game of like, we'll just keep an eye on him? I don't just fucking tell him, I guess. But then again, I don't know, man. We know sometimes Elaine could be a little bit silly. So it's like, I want to take her word for it, but at the same time, like, Elaine could just be having her silly moments, you know? Oh, man. All right, what are we going back and forth for? Back and forth, Nadelhoff with Jessica Myers. All right, sidebar, the court. Juror 25, who happens to be the one waving, the deputies at lunchtime said he had a hernia surgery about 2 months ago and he's in a lot of pain. Oh, I do remember this. So he wants to be excused. I think everyone's okay with it. I think should be fine. Damn, imagine having a hernia surgery and you have to like sit there for the first like couple of days. Oof. That sounds really painful. She sounds like a scheming housekeeper. I'm not trying to make her sound like a scheming housekeeper, okay? I'm just trying to reflect because, you know, she's still got a little bit of raspiness in her voice, all right? A little bit of a raspiness. All right, hernia problem. I think jury's going to be excused. It's been bothering him. And, you know, that sounds pretty fucking legit. Surgery. He's excused. You're going to go to the doctor. Okay, so I think we're good on this one. Mr. Chu, we've asked that we do anticipate that Mr. Depp will start his testimony tomorrow, probably in the middle of the direct tomorrow night. The court, I understand. Mr. Chu, I'm sure Miss Brederhoff will cross-examine. Wrong! Oh, man. I think it was good that Elaine didn't cross-examine Johnny Depp. I think the best person to have done that would have been Mr. Roddenborn. So the question is, since he's not a normal witness in the sense that he's been hearing all the testimonies, my question is, to what extent can we talk to him in the middle of direct or after? The court, no, I understand, but he's just like any other witness. Once he takes the oath, you can't talk about his testimony. Mr. Chu, yes, we just want to make sure. The court, it makes sense. That's fine. That goes both sides, obviously. Mr. Chu, so that we would apply to Ms. Heard as well. Elaine, absolutely. The court, also, as far as the alternative goes on reflection, I think it should be the first person we call as the next alternate, as I have it as number 10. Elaine, that's what I have. The court, just double checking. Elaine, I just have one more question. You have one more witness tomorrow before Mr. Depp, right? Mr. Chu, that's correct. The court, it's a live witness? Mr. Chu, it's a live witness. I don't think he'll take very long. The court, all right, I've heard that. That's the kettle anyways. Elaine, I was just going to say what he said. He's not a normal person. He's not a normal person. The court. That's good. You guys have a good evening, okay? Mr. Chu. Thank you very much, Your Honor. The court. All right, then. We'll be in recess. Let's see. Open court. What do we have for open court here? Did she not get kicked out today? Sidebar 1. We'll probably continue this maybe a different day. I think it'll be easier if I have notes on all of these so I know what part to read exactly and what the context is. I was trying to wing it, but winging is actually, it's kind of hard to do live. Oh, thanks, damn. I appreciate it. We just chilling.